Hello friends! So today I bring you a wrap up. This is everything that I have read in November and December. So it's my last few books that I read in 2019. Honestly, I don't even know how many books I read in 2019. My phone is somewhere with my Goodreads, but once I find out, I'll put it up here. My goal was like 80 or something like that, and I definitely didn't make that. Maybe it was around 30, but it was mostly manga, which is fine. I just didn't read as many novels as I wanted to this year. But let's get into what I read at the end of the year. So first off is a book I have still not finished, and that is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. This is a book about this woman who is a witch, but she doesn't want to be a witch because she doesn't like magic. It's been bad to her. And she's like a professor or like researching at Oxford and finds this like magical book, and all the magical creatures want the book, and she runs into this vampire who like also kind of wants the book, but is more interested in her. I don't know, there's a romance in there, and it's super boring right now. There's been like 4 pages talking about the smell of wine, so that's great. The vampire is a little bit misogynistic, so that's even better. But yeah, I want to finish it, but I'm just like having a hard time, so I'm taking a break for right now. So Discovery of Witches is going to go on the unfinished books pile. Only like 200 pages in, and it's like 600 pages, and I'm stressed. I'm stressed. Alright, let's get to the only book that I read in the past 2 months, and that is Silver on the Tree by Susan Cooper. So this is the last book in the Darkest Rising sequence, and the Darkest Rising sequence is a like middle grade fantasy series. It's very old, it's like classic fantasy, and it is like absolutely amazing. It's sort of about the main character, arguably, is this kid Will, and he finds out that he is one of the old ones, this like ancient race of people that kind of like have all of this magic, and they are the kind of like, the old ones are like the keepers of the light, and they are in a constant battle against the dark. And this book is the conclusion of that fight against the dark, and it brings in all of the characters from the other books together to finally beat the dark. This series is full of Arthurian legend and like British and Welsh folklore, and it's absolutely amazing. I love it so much. This is a series that I read as a kid, or I started to read it as a kid and I never finished it, so finally I have finished this series, and I'm so happy that I did. Silver on the Tree is the conclusion of this sequence, or this series, and it kind of like brings in like it's the final battle against the dark to finally try and defeat the dark once and for all. This book is a completely stunning travel through time, and like brings in so many different elements of Arthurian legend and folklore into it, and like gives you a somewhat satisfying ending to the series. There's a few things at the end of this that I wasn't super happy about, but I did really like the message at the end of this book, or at the end of the series. I thought this was a really great ending to this series. I highly recommend, if you love kind of like sort of lyrical writing, Arthurian legend, folklore, kind of like poetic writing, then definitely pick up the Darkest Rising sequence. Not many people have read this on book 2, I don't think, and I definitely think everybody should. If you like the Raven Boys, definitely pick this up. Maggie Stiefvater has said that this series has like influenced her writing, and specifically the type of story she wanted to write for the Raven Boys, so please pick up the Darkest Rising sequence. Yes. I think I'm gonna make like a whole video about this series because it's so near and dear to my heart. So look out for that at some point this year, hopefully. And next I read a bunch of manga. So the first manga I read was books 1 and 2 of Witch Hat Atelier. I think that's how you say it. I can never know how to say that word. So this series is about a girl, what is her name? Coco, and she lives in this world where there are like magicians, and it's kind of like believed that you have to be born a magician or you are not a magician. And one day she finds out that even though she wasn't born a magician, she can probably learn how to be a magician too. And one thing leads to another, and she gets whisked off to this kind of like, it's not really a school for magic, it's like there's one like witch, yes, and he kind of has like a bunch of young magicians in training, witches in training to teach and train in magic, and so she becomes one of them. I feel like the jury is still out with me on this series. I own one more volume of this, so we'll kind of have to see after volume 3 if I want to continue it. I do think it's really good. So the art is something that like I don't normally read. It's really, really detailed, and like it's not like as soft as stuff I normally read. I mean, I do normally read like shoujo mangas, which is doesn't have as much like, I guess, black in it. It's a little more, I feel like most of the shoujo manga that I read is like much lighter. But I do think it's a really interesting magic system, and it's a really interesting world, and I feel like Coco is like a nice main character. She like really tries her best. She's maybe not the greatest at magic, but she's trying her best to learn and make friends, which is, I mean, what more could you want in a manga? So yeah, I think probably I'll give this 4 stars. I'm not super in love with it, but we'll have to see how I feel after volume 3 if I want to continue it. I read Snow White with the Red Hair volume 3. This is a story about this girl named Shirayuki. She has like really rare bright red hair, and she wants to be an herbalist, and one thing leads to another, and she ends up in a different country. She meets the prince of the country and his friends, and they become friends. She tries to become a like court herbalist, so she can be like an herbalist for the like castle. Convenient. But basically it's about Shirayuki kind of like working towards her dreams and like becoming a stronger person, along with Prince Zen, who's the second prince of this country, and they have like a little bit of a romance going on, and it's super adorable and super cute, and I absolutely love it. This volume has a lot of like romance moments and like some of my favorite moments in it, so I'm very excited for that, where these things are going. And I love the anime for this. Like, it's one of my favorite animes ever, and the end of the story that like kind of concludes this volume is like at the end of the first season of the anime, but I do know that this manga kind of like the anime kind of is out of order from the manga, if that makes any sense. So there are things that happen like way later in the manga that happen like in the first season. I kind of like that, because then it's not just like, okay, well, I need to wait for volume 10 to come out before I pick it up, because that's where the anime ends, so that I can get new stuff after that. There's still new stuff in between. So volume 3 is full of a bunch of little romance moments, and you can see Shirayuki and Zen's relationship growing, and it's so adorable and so cute, and I love it so very much. And then next I read, oh my god, these are so heavy. I read volumes 2, 3, and 4 of Sailor Moon. These are the Eternal editions. I have never read the Sailor Moon manga before, despite really loving Sailor Moon as like an anime and as a concept. Sailor Moon has always been like a thing that has been very present in my life from a very young age. I used to watch it as a kid, but yeah, so the manga is absolutely beautiful. These Eternal editions are like so pretty. The paper quality is really high. The paper quality is a little bit shiny. I do like more of a matte finish on my manga, but still the paper is really sturdy. There is like amazing color pages. Yeah, there's like amazing color pages. There are moments like the manga, especially like with the first arc, is very different than the anime. I think Sailor Moon Crystal is a little more close to the manga than the original anime, but it's absolutely gorgeous. I love it so much. I think volume 2 ends the original arc and starts on the Black Moon arc, and then 3 and 4 are kind of like the whole of the Black Moon arc. I think a little bit into 2. Absolutely love these. I think I'm gonna make a video about the first 4 volumes of this manga, just because I want to go into more detail about like some specific moments that were like really like powerful for me. Sailor Moon obviously is very, very good. And that is everything. Didn't read a bunch, but these Sailor Moon mangas actually took me a long time. They're very wordy. Yeah, so that's pretty much everything that I read at the end of the year. Just a quick note, I am not going to be making a best or worst books of the year video or videos. Just like my heart is not in it, and I feel like I didn't read enough. I mean, like, of course I read enough. I just like don't want to make that video this year. I feel like there are other things that I want to make, and I feel like if I made one of those at this point, with the way I feel about what I read this year, then I would just be making it because everybody else is making it, and I don't really want to do that. So you're not going to get a best or worst video of the year, but I will tell you the best books that I read this year were The Raven Cycle, and the best manga that I read this year was Waiting for Spring. So there you go. That's my best of 2019. Let me know in the comments what you have read recently. Have you read any of these? What are your thoughts on them? Have you read the Dark is Rising sequence? Like, I literally have never met anybody else who has read this book, so please let me know if you've read this. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more bookish and nerdy content from me. That is all I've got for you guys today. I'm Chrissy Lou. Till next time, bye.